So in this lecture, we're going to talk about characteristics associated with all living things. We'll then get into the organ systems that make up the human body and the language of anatomy. I've already talked a little bit about some characteristics associated with living things. All living things are composed of cells. So you can remember that from this slide here where we talked about the organization of the human body, and the cellular level is the level where we start seeing living organisms. All living things also have to be able to metabolize. Metabolism, in a nutshell, is the sum of all the chemical reactions that occur within your bodies. And all metabolic reactions occur inside of cells. Metabolic reactions can be broken into two basic types of reactions: anabolic reactions, where you're building things up, and catabolic reactions, where you're breaking things down. So the easiest way to see an anabolic reaction, down here you see tiny little subunits that are building up this large molecule, and that is a catabolic, or that would be an anabolic reaction. Anabolic reactions require energy. Catabolic reactions, you have this large molecule, and we break it down into the smaller pieces. That's a catabolic reaction, and it releases energy. So typically, catabolic reactions are considered to drive anabolic reactions. And here's my way of explaining this even easier. There we go. If you take all the small pieces that make a cake, take the eggs, the milk, the flour, you put it all in a bowl, you mix it up, you pour it into a cake pan, and then you put it in the oven. You increase, or you add energy, the oven, the heat, energy, makes a larger molecule. So these are all small subunits. There's the large macromolecule, or the larger molecule, the cake, okay? So catabolic reactions, you take that cake and you break it down into the smaller subunits and you release energy. That's a catabolic reaction. All living things grow and develop. So growth is increasing in the number of cells and increasing in the size of those cells. Develop, you're producing specializations. So each of our cells starts to specialize. If it's a cell of the digestive system, it starts to specialize and do jobs of the digestive system. All living things have to be able to respond to stimuli. So probably the most obvious example is when you touch something hot and you jerk away. That response is very rapid, and it protects your hand from burning. You respond when you smell something that smells really, really good. You might start to salivate. That's another response to stimuli. We all have to be able to regulate our body. So the term homeostasis means the organism is able to maintain their internal environment at some steady set point. We all have to be able to maintain homeostasis. If we leave homeostasis, then we are more prone to infections. We're more likely to be diseased and be ill. All living things have to reproduce. So we reproduce asexually through a process called mitosis, and this helps to repair our cells and maintain our cells. We reproduce sexually through meiosis, so that we can produce new organisms that carry on our genetic information. So now let's talk about the different organ systems that make up the human body. So we have 11 different organ systems that help us to metabolize and help us to maintain homeostasis. So this is just from your textbook, the figures. The integumentary system is a system we'll talk about in Chapter 6. This system provides protection from the external environment. It helps us to regulate our body temperature by releasing heat to the surface and then sweating to get rid of that heat. Provides the ability to produce vitamin D. Vitamin D is needed for bone health and to maintain calcium levels in our body. Prevents water loss so we don't dehydrate. The next system, the skeletal system, is going to be taught through chapters 7 through 9. The skeletal system is a system that provides structural support for the body, so it gives the body its structure. It provides a site for storage of calcium, phosphate, as well as nutrients like fat. It provides an attachment site for muscles so that we can move. And it also is the site of hemopoiesis, which is blood cell formation. So we'll talk about that organ system in chapters 7 through 9. Then we'll get into the muscular system. Muscular system is going to be taught in chapters 10 and 11. It's a shorter system. And the main function of the muscular system is to produce body movement. But as a byproduct of production of body movement, it produces heat. And so it helps us in maintaining body temperature. The last system we'll talk about in this semester is the nervous system, which runs from 12 through 16. The nervous system is one of your primary control systems. So there's two control systems. It is the primary control system. It's a fast-acting messenger system that sends nervous stimuli in the form of these chemicals called neurotransmitters throughout the body to tell your body to do different activities. That withdrawal reflex when you touch something hot, that is your nervous system responding. Your eyes are part of the nervous system and they respond to visual stimuli. The nervous system helps us in maintaining homeostasis. It's one of our organ systems, one of those control systems that helps in maintaining homeostasis. Next semester in EMP2 over the summer, we will be covering the endocrine system. The endocrine system is composed of multiple endocrine organs as well as non-endocrine organs that have endocrine tissue. And the function of the endocrine system, it is also a messenger system. It is your second messenger system. It's a much more slow-acting messenger system, but it helps us in maintaining homeostasis. It is one of the major control systems of the body. And that will be taught in chapter 17. And then we have the cardiovascular system. Cardiovascular system is an organ system taught in chapters 18 through 20. It covers the blood, the heart, and the blood vessels. And so this is your transport system. Transports nutrients throughout the body and transports waste to the waste releasing organs. The lymphatic system is going to be taught in chapters 20 and 21 and 22. This is your protective system, composed of lymphatic organs, and then it also contains all of your immune system cells. So gives you that specific immunity or the adaptive immunity that protects you from illness. We have the respiratory system that's taught in chapter 23. Respiratory system is one of the organ systems that helps in maintaining blood pH. But one of its major jobs, the major job it does, is it brings oxygen into the body, and we need oxygen for energy production or cell respiration. The next organ system is the urinary system. We'll learn about the urinary system in chapters 24 and 25. The urinary system is a very small organ system, but it has a very important function. It gets rid of metabolic waste, specifically nitrogenous wastes. and it helps in maintaining body pH or blood pH. It also helps us in maintaining blood pressure and sodium or electrolyte balance. The digestive system is an organ system taught in chapters 26 and 27. Digestive system is the organ system that brings in nutrients to the body and gets rid of any waste products that we can't use. So this is where we get the nutrients that we use in cell respiration to produce energy, so the carbs and stuff. And any waste products that we have taken in are going to be excreted in the end as feces. The last organ system then is the male and the female reproductive system. So we study the male and female reproductive systems in chapter 28, and we study the pregnancy and changes in mom in chapter 29. And so we'll cover that, the organs associated with reproduction, as well as changes in mom during pregnancy and the fetus during pregnancy, and then we'll talk about labor and delivery. And that will be the last thing we talk about in the semester. So next semester, next summer, or this coming summer, I should say. The last thing we'll start talking about today is the language of anatomy. So anatomy and physiology is like learning a new language. This class is not just a straightforward biology class where you learn a few terms. There's a whole language associated with the human body. And because of that, a lot of people struggle if they don't like memorizing. There's a lot of memorization associated with this class. You're going to have to put the time in to memorize all of the terms associated with the human body. So the first thing I'll talk about is when we talk about the human body, we assume anatomic position. Anatomic position means that you are standing upright. Feet are parallel and flat on the floor, toes pointing forward or in the anterior direction. Your limbs are hanging, your upper limbs are hanging at the side of the body with the palms facing forward or anteriorly. Your head is facing forward and it is sitting upright on your shoulders, and your eyes are looking straight forward. And I think I might have, hold on. So that man is facing or is standing in the anatomic position. He's just not facing forward to us because they have him rotated to on the side, the lateral side. So you can see his right side of the body. Okay. All right. So once we have the anatomic position identified, now we can start looking at the planes of the body. So a plane of the body is an imaginary surface on the body. And we can use those planes and we can cut sections out of the body. A coronal section or a coronal plane is a slice that produces an anterior and a posterior region of the body. A transverse plane produces a top and a bottom region, or a superior and inferior portion of the body. And then a sagittal section produces a left and right portion of the body. If it's mid-sagittal, it's directly down the very middle or the midline of the body. And so I just talked about this. The coronal section produces an anterior and posterior structure. The transverse plane produces a superior and inferior. And the mid-sagittal produces equal left and right halves. A sagittal plane is going to just produce a left and right half. It does not have to be in the very middle, okay? And an oblique plane passes at an angle, so it kind of looks like a transverse and sagittal, or transverse and superior, or not, I'm sorry, transverse and coronal.